Hello and welcome viewers, I am Pia and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top stories this hour. US President Donald Trump and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will chair the Gaza Peace Summit in Egypt tomorrow, with 20 world leaders attending, including UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, Italy's Giorgia Meloni and Spain's Pedro Sanchez. Meanwhile, Hamas will miss the formal signing. A senior Hamas official has confirmed that the hostage releases will commence tomorrow morning. Hamas has warned that it will repel any renewed aggression. Over 500,000 Palestinians have returned to Gaza City since the ceasefire has come into effect. Iran has rejected US President Donald Trump's suggestion that it may normalize ties with Israel, calling it wishful thinking. Trump had hinted at Iran possibly joining the Abraham Accords following Israel's peace deals with 4 Muslim-majority countries and the peace pact in Gaza. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged US President Donald Trump to broker peace in Ukraine, praising his Middle East ceasefire plan. Zelensky has called on Trump to pressurize Russia to enter into negotiations, especially considering the fact that escalation has taken place with energy infrastructure being targeted. China has accused the United States of double standards after Washington threatened new tariffs. Beijing's Commerce Ministry has urged the US to correct what it has called erroneous practices, defending its decision to impose special port fees on US-linked vessels as a necessary countermeasure. Taliban forces have launched armed reprisals against Pakistani troops along Afghanistan's eastern border after Islamabad conducted airstrikes on Afghan soil. Pakistani officials have confirmed that Pakistan fired light and then heavy artillery at 4 points along the border and shot down 3 Afghan quadcopters. The Trump administration has directed the use of $8 billion in unused research funds to pay troops during the federal shutdown. Trump has ordered U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to ensure that military personnel receive salaries on the 15th of October and that the U.S. government shutdown does not hinder this process. Torrential rains in Mexico have killed at least 41 people and has caused widespread destruction. Flooding, landslides and collapsed roads have impacted 31 states. Hidalgo and Puebla have suffered the worst, with thousands affected. The Mexican military has deployed troops, boats and helicopters to assist rescue efforts and distribute aid in isolated communities. All right, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Aid trucks have started entering Gaza after Israel has reopened a key border crossing, which is a vital step towards easing the humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, Israel and Hamas are preparing for a major hostage prisoner exchange as US President Donald Trump and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi are all set to co-chair a Gaza Peace Summit tomorrow in Sharm el-Sheikh. There are more than 20 world leaders who are expected to attend this summit. The summit itself aims to consolidate the ceasefire and lay the groundwork for long-term stability in the region. Meanwhile, a senior Hamas official has stated that the group will not take part in the formal signing of the peace deal. With us on the broadcast is Professor Rohan Gunaratne, international affairs expert, joining us from Singapore. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Apart from President Trump and President el-Sisi co-chairing the meeting, we're expecting senior dignitaries, including UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, France's Emmanuel Macron, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, and Spain's Pedro Sanchez to also be present at this high-stakes summit. I want to understand from you, what are your expectations from this crucial meeting that is slated to take place tomorrow?
Pia, what is so important is that 20 world leaders will participate in the summit with Field Marshal Sisi, the president of Egypt, and the US President Donald Trump. what is also important is that these leaders will support the Trump plan for restoring peace, not only in Gaza, but in the Middle East. So it is a turning point for the entire Middle East. Of course, Hamas will not participate in it because Hamas staged the attack. And what is important is also that Hamas not be given a platform when the world leaders gather, because if a terrorist organization like Hamas is given a platform, then of course terrorists will think that future terrorists will think that they can do attacks and be invited to such gatherings. And equally, what we are seeing is that in the Middle East, there is a tremendous focus on what is going to happen to Gaza, because the Palestinian people have suffered considerably after this attack that was staged by Hamas in October of 2023. And now in Gaza, the aid relief trucks are moving in, and also there are bulldozers that are clearing the roads and the streets. So there will be a new Gaza if Hamas and its allies, that is the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Palestinian Mujahideen movement, all these other groups that are also holding hostages will release the hostages in the next 24 hours.
Indeed, sir, I request you to stay on with us as we're tracking some other very crucial developments from the Middle East. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has stated that Tehran seeks no reason to resume nuclear talks with European powers. Araghchi has stated that negotiations with E3 countries, including Britain, France and Germany, would be pointless, questioning what positive outcome could they possibly achieve. Now, his remarks come a day after the three European nations stated that they were seeking to restart stalled discussions over Iran's nuclear program, talks that have been frozen for months, especially amid growing regional tensions and Western concerns over uranium enrichment. We do know that snapback sanctions have been once again placed on Iran, a move that Russia and China sought to delay at the United Nations Security Council. However, the vote did not go in Iran's favor and the sanctions are once again in place. Talks with the E3 powers were taken place because talks with the United States has broken down, considering the fact that Israel had attacked Iran, and so did the US bombard three very crucial nuclear sites. That is not all that has taken place. In the meantime, Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi has also stated that the country is open to considering a fair and balanced nuclear proposal with the United States. However, Iran has not received any such proposal for nuclear talks yet. He's also made it clear that Iran will not stop enriching uranium, but will consider measures to build trust that its nuclear program is peaceful. Still with us on the broadcast is Professor Rohan Gunaratne, international affairs expert. Interesting statements coming in from the Iranian foreign minister. He has rebuffed attempts by the E3 powers for negotiations to take place, but in the same breath, he's also stated that Iran is open to a fair and balanced proposal from the United States of America. Are we seeing this sort of balanced approach, this open approach, considering the ball is currently in Iran's court to the United States as of late, despite the fact that it was the US that had attacked its three nuclear sites, because Iran is becoming increasingly isolated in the Middle East?
You are correct. What we are seeing is that Iran is afraid that the United States and Israel will attack Iran again, because there has been significant activity in the Iranian nuclear sites that were bombed by US and Israel in June 13th to 25th. Both the Israelis and the Americans attacked and disrupted Iran's nuclear program. Iran was only 1 month away from developing a functional nuclear weapon, and Iran has recommenced its program. Iran is likely to be attacked at any time again by Israel and the United States. So Iran has no option. Iran has very little leeway to ensure that the international community will once again trust Iran, and it will desist from enriching uranium to a weapons grade. Personally, for me, Iran should have no nuclear program because of Iran's support for terrorism, global terrorism, Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, then of course the Yemeni Houthi movement. So I personally believe that Iran should have no role at all to recommence its nuclear program, whether it's civilian or military. And what is important is for Iran to understand that it is best that they open their sites to the International Atomic Energy Authority, and they work with the Europeans and the Americans so that Iran will not be attacked again.
All right, Professor Gunaratna, with that, I would like to thank you for taking our time and sharing your perspective with us on NewsX World. With that, viewers, we're shifting focus to further updates coming in. We're now learning that Qatar's embassy in Egypt has stated that 3 employees of Qatar's Amiri Divan, its top government body, have been killed in a car crash near Egypt's Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. The embassy has stated that 2 others are wounded and are receiving necessary medical treatment at the city's hospital. Now, according to reports, the car carrying Qatari diplomats overturned on a curve on a road 50 kilometers from the city itself. The accident comes just a few days after officials from Qatar, Turkey and Egypt participated in indirect talks in Sharm el-Sheikh earlier this week that has led to the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas as far as the first phase of US President Donald Trump's peace plan to end the war in Gaza is concerned. Now, the Egyptian city is set to host a global summit on Monday, which is aimed at finalizing the agreement. With that, viewers, we're tracking some other crucial developments, this time from the United States. US President Donald Trump has stated that his administration has now found a way to pay troops during the federal government shutdown and that he's ordered the Pentagon chief to do so. Trump has stated that he is using his authority as commander-in-chief to direct the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to use all available funds to get American troops paid on the 15th of October. He has also stated that the administration has identified the funds to do this and that Secretary Hegseth will use them to pay the US troops. As of now, the funding sources have not been identified by Trump or the total amount that would be used for troops' salaries. He has, in fact, made this announcement even as the US government shutdown enters its 12th day. The tussle between the Republicans and Democrats continues in the United States of America over the spending bill, particularly related to the Affordable Care Act. The Democrats contest that the insurance premiums will double. Meanwhile, Republicans are firing salvos back at the Democrats, pinning the blame on them, stating that the Democrats want illegal migrants to gain access to free health care. In the meantime, there are some reports coming in that $8 billion are likely to be moved from research and development funds in order to ensure that US troops are paid. This is the latest that is coming in. We do know that as the government shutdown continues and federal workers are furloughed, many are likely to be laid off as well. In fact, layoffs have already commenced in several crucial departments, including the Home Department, the Finance Department, the Health Department as well. There are some 300,000 federal workers that the Trump administration is already looking at cutting down ever since its endeavor began earlier this year to downsize the US government. And now, of course, with the government shutdown continuing and neither party seeming to relent, neither party seeming to wanting to come to the negotiating table and reach a middle ground, it seems that Trump has now stated that US troops will be paid. With us on the broadcast is Dr. Satoru Nagao, a fellow at the Hudson Institute, joining us from Tokyo. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Donald Trump has now come out and made a very clear statement directing Pete Hegseth to use all available funds to pay American troops. And there are reports coming in that $8 billion that was unused for research and development might be diverted towards this. In your assessment, is this a wise move down the line, or is it an emergency which is necessary?
In the crisis, what kind of budget is priority is reflecting this decision. In case of Argentina, in case of the other country, when the country faces a shortage of the budget, of course, priority is police and security forces, and in this case, the army. So that's why the firstly, priority of the budget is national defense. This is maybe common in any part of the world, and the Trump's decision is logical in this case. But at the same time, this is just a temporal. In the long run, of course, a more bigger budget to deal with many sectors of the government is needed.
All right, so I request you to stay on with us as we're tracking some other very, very crucial developments from the United States of America. An appeals court has stated that the National Guard troops sent to Illinois by President Donald Trump can stay in the state under federal control, but cannot be deployed to protect federal property or go on patrol for now. This decision comes after federal judge April Perry had earlier ruled to temporarily block the National Guard deployment for at least 2 weeks, finding no substantial evidence that a danger of rebellion is brewing in Illinois during Trump's immigration crackdown. The appeals court has now granted a pause in the case until it can hear further arguments. Meanwhile, Illinois State Police has moved in to detain protesters after declaring an unlawful assembly outside a U.S. immigration and customs enforcement facility in Broadview. Protesters have gathered outside ICE premises, clashing with police decked in riot helmets and holding wooden batons. Demonstrators scuffled with officers as lines of police personnel advanced and arrests were made. Let's in fact listen in to what the demonstrators have had to say.
A protesting area, they told us we had to move, we had to disperse. We had a curfew at 6 p.m., but the sheriffs and the state police decided that they would end it at 5:30 and start making us disperse. So right now what's happening is they're all lining up, they're gonna force us down this block now. They gave us a warning about 3 minutes ago that they're gonna start throwing tear gas.
With us on the broadcast still is Dr. Satoru Nagao. Interesting developments coming in. We've in fact seen a lot of criticism of this move by Democratic governors, and not just the Democrats. In fact, the senator for Alaska has also come out and criticized the Trump administration, pointing out that sending troops from one state to the other could set a dangerous precedent. Is this and what we're seeing then justified or an overreach by the Trump administration?
Indeed, this is a little bit ironical situation. Demonstrators' target is President Trump's decision to deploy military forces to maintain law and order. Despite this, if this demonstration violates and destroys many around it, in this case, police cannot deal with and they need the army's support. This means that this demonstration against Trump will prove the needs of the Trump's decision. So that is a little bit ironical situation indeed. So which side will prove their decision? It's rely on their activity from now.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking our time, sharing your perspective with us on NewsX World. With that, viewers, we're shifting our focus away from the United States of America towards Mexico. In Mexico, devastating floods and landslides have killed at least 41 people after days of relentless rain. In the city of Huahuachiang, rescuers continue to search through the mud and debris for survivors. Entire neighborhoods have been submerged, with homes destroyed and roads cut off as emergency crews struggle to reach isolated areas. Let's in fact listen in to the difficulties that some of the residents are facing.
Ropa de bebé. Niños estaban todos con gripa y ahorita estaban en tratamiento, toda la medicina, todo se fue, todo el tratamiento, no tenemos nada.
Y ya mi hijo me trajo, por ahí así entramos allá y vemos ya no hay ni casa, no hay ni muestra, ya no hay nada, todo se arrió la casa, no hay nada, ni bloques, ni nada, no hay nada. Entonces nos dedicamos a buscar a la orilla del río allá, no pedí a nosotros y ya los llevamos por allá donde mi sobrina y mi sobrino, ellos andaban buscando por allá y la encontraron allí enterrada en la mera esquina del deportivo. En la esquina, y la encontraron que vio un cuerpo que estaba ahí, entonces no lo tocó, nomás lo vio.
Pues desgraciadamente ocurrió la desgracia de mi sobrina. Sí, todos estamos ahorita aquí pendientes, aquí ya saquen sus cuerpos de ellos el jueves en la noche. Como las 9, 9:30, por ahí ha sido pasado lo que pasó. Ay, pues que nos apoyen de perdida con los gastos para ellos. Desgraciadamente no contamos con los recursos.
Shifting focus to Southeast Asia, Philippines Coast Guard has accused a Chinese ship of deliberately ramming a Philippine government vessel which was anchored near an island in the South China Sea. Confrontation between Philippine and Chinese vessels occur frequently in the disputed South China Sea, which China claims nearly all of, despite an international ruling that its assertion has no legal basis. Philippines has stated that a Chinese Coast Guard ship fired its water cannon at the BRP Datu Pagbuaya, a vessel belonging to Manila's Fisheries Bureau. Philippines Coast Guard has stated that the incident took place near Titu Island, part of the Spratly Islands, which China has sought to assert its sovereignty claims for years. They've also stated that despite these tactics and aggressive actions, they will not be intimidated or driven away. China's Coast Guard has stated that it lawfully took control measures against Philippine vessels and expelled them from the area. China also claims that this resulted in a collision for which the Philippine side bears responsibility. Shifting focus to more news and updates coming in, we're now learning that Oscar-winning actress Diane Keaton has died at the age of 79. Her family has confirmed her death that took place in California. Keaton rose to fame in the 1970s with her iconic role as Kay Adams' Corleone in the Godfather film series. She earned widespread acclaim and won the Academy Award for Best Actress in 1978 for Annie Hall, a film directed by and starring Woody Allen. Over a career spanning more than 5 decades, she starred in many beloved films, including Father of the Bride, The First Wives Club, and The Family Stone. She also directed several movies such as Heaven and Hanging Up. Her most recent film appearance was in the 2024 comedy Summer Camp. Tributes are meanwhile pouring in from across Hollywood, with Bette Midler calling her brilliant, beautiful, and completely original. Keaton leaves behind a lasting legacy in cinema. Well, viewers, due to paucity of time, this is all we have for this bulletin. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned on NewsX World.